Hey everybody, it's Corey from Unified Masters. It's been a while since I've done a recorded video, so this is definitely going to take some adjustment. I'm used to just going live, but I felt like I would do this recorded. And the topic for this video is lessons in transition. So obviously, I'm at a new angle, I'm outside. I did this for a purpose, just because, with the quarantine and stuff, it's nice to get out every once in a while, so I decided to sit out on the patio and just kind of breathe in the nature and the change. Transitions. Okay, we're undergoing a gigantic transition right now. We've been in the process of a gigantic transition, but we made a big dimensional leap as of 4/4. And this weekend, the gateway through Easter was a very important time of transformation for many of us. This is another resurrection cycle, another layer of the resurrection cycle. And for me, I went through a life review over the last 24 hours. And that's why I'm here to discuss this, as the cars are, once again, the interference is still going to occur. It's just a part of our world. And that's actually a great focal point of what this topic is. Just that car going by really noisy. It's just a car, right? But we don't recognize how some of these things can affect us. The noise affecting our solar body, and how sound emits a frequency that ends up, creating something within our field. Okay, and that's why these shifts and these transitions are occurring. I got the word in the notice today that the frequencies are not going to settle until we make it through, and everything that needs to be cleared, right? There's a lot going on, okay? And there's been a lot that's been happening for eons here on Earth that needs to change. And the blasts aren't going to stop. The gateways aren't going to stop until everything that needs to be resolved will be resolved. And, in one focal point, right, this is where I've had, there's a little bit of controversy with this when it comes to people. Well, free will, everyone has a choice, correct? Yeah, you do have a choice, okay? We all are abiding to free will, but under universal law as well, and what everyone's higher selves and what the creators are calling forth for change, with such things as disclosure, with such things as ending certain cycles, ways that we've been treated in society. The frequencies are going to keep ramping up until it's all dissolved. So if we look at it like this, if we were to think of us as this person with stuff on us and we're being lifted up, the more we get lifted up, the more stuff dissolves off of us naturally, organically. And so that string is going to keep getting pulled. We're going to keep raising and raising and raising and going up and up and up as far as we need to go until all of it is resolved, right? In the higher frequencies, the density that we were residing in, and the patterning and the programming and the trauma and the other things of that nature that were occurring will not stick in the higher frequencies, okay? So it's like thinking of, if we were to think of all of these distortions as Velcro, right? And in the density that we were residing in, things would stick to our field. Well, what happens is we start to become cellophane, in the word of the metaphor, where when these things come in, they bounce right off, or they slip off of our field, to the point where we can no longer create them. That's why the frequencies adjust, and that's why they occur. Okay, so this is a big point of this resurrection phase that we've gone through, is that we're in a moment of transition, right? We're in a moment of passageway. Some of us have landed, and others are en route to 7D Earth. So we've fully anchored the 7th dimension here, and the bridges are open between the dimensional gaps and the dimensional jumps. And so because of that, it calls for a review. The review is to make sure that we are in alignment and we are resolving what needs to be resolved. So when we look at the balance point of us in this density, mind, body, and spirit is what comes into play. So with these review stages and these moments of transition, we have an opportunity for being able to shift and resolve how we've been handling things spiritually, how we've been handling it emotionally, and how we've been handling it physically. For me, the big review has been the physical body. So over the past 24 hours, my body completely shut down on me from a lot of um, the stuff that was broken down over this weekend, this Easter weekend, as well as my own personal things that I've been going through, and then collective as well. And with that being the focal point of the physical body and how it starts to manifest and affect the physical body, my liver and my kidneys absolutely went haywire on me. And I got some fear came in, and when we look at the liver holds a lot of anger, and the kidneys hold a lot of fear. So part of these codes that came through February, the 2222 power up, no more, the freedom codes, things of that nature. These codes are written in such a way where patterning in the ways that we are responding to our environment, or the way that we treat ourselves, it can't happen. That's what these no more codes are. It's basically time's up. Time's up. You can't live this way anymore. And you can keep trying to live a certain way if you're behaving a certain way, if you're treating your body a certain way, if you have a certain belief system. But what's going to happen is it's just going to be mirrored back to you so quickly that you have no choice but to resolve it, or to basically move on. And while free will is a factor in this, there is certain ways that we've been operating for a long time, that the change that we're calling forth, that we need for humanity and we need for one another in order to thrive and to expand and to live freely, there's certain patterning and certain ways that we behave or treat ourselves or treat our physical body that cannot be supported in the higher frequencies and in the new earth frequencies. And so because of that, you may not want to change certain patterning. Many of us don't. I'm very stubborn, okay? So little story about me. I'm stubborn. I don't listen very well. I want to try it my way until I've got no choice and I'm left kicking and screaming. And that's what part of this review was I've been getting I've talked about this before in videos. Oh, I need to treat my body better. I need to stop certain things. And did I listen? No. But then what happens, okay, when we don't listen and heed that call, is the universe takes over and does what it needs to do in order for us to get the hint. Okay, that's what this whole outbreak is, and the isolation and the quarantine is. It's essentially a gigantic review. It's like a sit down and take a look at the way you've been operating and change it. And while some of it is happening subconsciously for many of the population, so they're not fully aware, some are waking up more and more and more. They're waking up to what's happening, the truth, things of that nature. And it might not be as esoteric or as all-knowing as many out there, but they're getting the hint, and they're making the adjustments and the changes in the way that serves them, their soul's trajectory, and what their higher self is orchestrated for them. So because of all this, if you don't heed the call, it's going to be mirrored back louder and louder and louder. And while many probably don't want to hear that because they're stuck in their old ways, or there's certain things that they like to operate with, or however they treat their body or treat others, it just can't stick anymore. I'm not the one that's sitting here making the rules. This is the way the code works. The code works in such a way where there's certain things, and especially with the new templates, the 7th dimensional and 12th dimensional templates that have arrived, that you cannot operate certain ways anymore. You just can't. And so it's just going to be mirrored back to you louder and louder and louder until you finally get the hint, and then you make that choice point of what you're going to do about it. During this life review that happened over the weekend, Spirit had came through and said, this is what's going on with you. Okay, you have a choice. You can change it, or you can go. And it was very cutthroat and very savage with the way that it came about. But I also recognize too that when it came down to these choices and these changes that I need to make within myself, it's for my highest good. And so if you hit these moments where you're called to change, or you're told that you need to change something, and not by someone external, but you're getting that intuitive notion, I ask that you just take a moment and ask, what part of me doesn't want to change? Is it really my higher self? Or is it the lower aspect? because my lower aspect, my ego, the human aspect, as many have called it, it does not, it wants to, it's going kicking and screaming, but either way it's going to go. So I had this choice point. Do you want to go? Do you want to leave, end this cycle, or do you want to do what you need to do? And so I had that moment of awakening, and that was the recognition for me about how important the physical body is during ascension. And here's the thing, when it comes down to the physical body, I mentioned before that in the balance point of our life cycle here, we've got the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. All have to be into balance. But also, with the changes that are occurring, not many people talk about the physical changes, especially as we are releasing the carbon body and activating the crystalline body. And so with that, our bodies go through a bunch of changes. And we need to support the body during this process. And it's something I'm still learning. I was raised in a family that our dinners were to go to Jack in the Box and to eat that way, to drink sodas. It was a very it was the way we lived. And I've hit this moment now where I don't eat a lot of fast food anymore. We eat relatively healthy, but there were some things that I needed to change because of my history with being on mental health medications a majority of my life, and all the drugs that I've done, as well as being a recovering IV user. I have to take care of my liver now. I do. I have to take care of my liver, and I have to take care of my kidneys, and I have to support my body in the process. And I recognize that's a part of my journey too. I'm a healer. So because of that, I have to recognize that the body, as long as it is supported fully with everything that it needs, it will take care of itself, right? And so the call for these changes was to just support the body better, is to take better care of self. And actually, it is a reflection of self-love. When I say yes to my physical body and I provide it all the nutrients it needs and I take care of it and I practice that self-love, I'm reflecting to myself how extremely worth it I am. A part of the self-destructive patterns that occur with some of us is not taking care of the physical body. A lot of Western civilization here in this first world country does not support taking care of the physical body. Or in another aspect, okay, we see these yogis and these people that are going to yoga classes and are supporting their physical body so well. They're eating organically, they're stretching, they're exercising, but they speak foul about each other, and they, so once again, this is that balance point. And I'm just speaking of two different perspectives. It's, there's people that treat their spirituality so well, but they treat their mental body and they treat their physical body like crap. We see this, and this is a part of that review now, is making sure that everything is working in harmony. Because when everything is balanced and it's working in its true harmonious fashion, that's when our realities align, and that's when we can receive everything we truly need to receive out of life, or want to receive. Back to that car again. We got a lot of noisy muscle cars out here. We're in Texas, so it's just a bunch of Mustangs and Camaros that zip around our area, super loud. And I love Mustangs and Camaros, but it gets a little much with how noisy the cars get. But anyway, our bodies, our mind, our spirit needs to be in balance in order to receive what we want to receive and maintain optimal performance. And this is different for everybody. Some people can get away with trashing their systems a little bit longer than others can. But those of us that are, we're working with energy and we're anchoring and we're holding the field, or we're doing collective, weightlifting and collective shifting, which many of us are, it is integral that we take care of the physical body. We really do. I'm 31 years old, and the amount of pain I was in and the amount of stuff I was going through yesterday, it was a big wake-up call. Like, okay, it's time. So I want to ask you, if you're in this review stage and you see that changes are needing to be made, are you willing to make the changes and adjust softly and to abide? Or are you going to go kicking and screaming? If you're like me, you'll probably go kicking and screaming, but the change is going to occur whether many of us want to or not. We could sit here, we could fight, and we can yell, and we can argue, about, free will, and we have a choice. We do. But these codes that came through, the no more codes, means that There's certain things that we have to shift for all of humanity, and you might not fully understand exactly why you need to change this one pattern, or you need to change behaving this way, but we don't see fully, some of us, the macro level of why this occurs. When these changes occur between us here in this density, this change gets reflected out throughout the collective as well as in other galaxies and in other universes. The interconnectedness of this orchestration is extremely real. So when I treat someone else with judgment or disrespect, I'm actually judging and disrespecting an aspect of myself, and that actually gets reflected outward into the cosmos, micro, macro. So it's extremely important that, treating each other with kindness and compassion, but also doing that with yourself, and releasing judgment, and just allowing people to be what they're meant to be, in this plane of existence, and across all planes of existences, and releasing that judgment, which, there's a lot of programming and behaviors and things that have been reflected back to me recently that are, things that I didn't want to change for a little while, but I'm starting to see more and more and more why it's apparent that we need to change them. And so a lot of this trusting of the process is that when you get that call and you go, yeah, it's time. If you have that resistance, it's okay to have that resistance. It's okay to feel misery in knowing that there's an old way of living that you can't live anymore. That's a part of death, right? Is we mourn, we grieve our old life. But with what we're calling forth for ourselves and for others, and what we're anchoring, it's gonna be worth it. And a lot of stepping into that unknown requires us to just act in pure faith and trust that we've been doing the alignments. We've been, taking care of ourselves. We've been connecting regularly to the highest, most prosperous reality. And through anchoring that into the here and now and locking that in through our connection, our direct plug-in to the core of Gaia, our direct plug-in to Source, our direct plug-in to the crystalline grid system, our direct plug-in to the integrated grid system. What we are doing is we are now allowing ourselves to anchor into our new reality. And we are allowing the old to dissolve, and allowing all those timelines to just shift away, to be released from our body, and to allow the sway and the current of energies help us to move forward into our highest trajectory. Everything we want is here and now. We just need to plug into it and then allow what needs to go, because there's a formula for our new earth existence, and there might just be something within you on either of your realms. So if we look at the emotional, the mental, the physical, mind, body, soul, let's just go there. I'm getting too complicated with it. There might be something in the mind, body, and soul that is a mismatch to the formula that you're trying to call forth, and it may not make sense now why that code exists or why that code has to go, but it has to go. No more can some of these things exist in our reality. And while you might mourn it, and while you might miss it, there's a beautiful life ahead of you. As long as you say yes to it, and you click subscribe to the best version of you, and you allow that to come forward for you, and just support yourself in the process. Support your mind, support your body, support your spirit, and whatever you need for yourself. And even if the changes, don't make sense to other people, your soul knows. Your soul knows, your higher self knows. You know. The idea is we just need to remember all that we are, the magic that we are, and allow ourselves to be that unconditionally, authentically, unapologetically. So anyways, that's all I got, guys. Much love and respect to all of you out there. What an interesting time. What an interesting time. Give yourself a big hug. Take care of yourself. I'm going to extend an energetic hug out to you if you need it right now. So if you need one, just say yes, and I'll come out there and give you a big old hug, tell you I love you unconditionally, and tell you that we're going to make it. We just need to let go of a few things, or a lot of things, depending on how much baggage you're carrying. And we've all got baggage, no judgment, right? I got my own baggage. I got my own stuff that I work through, and I love to be real and authentic about that because, this isn't a perfect world, but it is. Does that make sense? It may be imperfect, but it's perfect just the way it is. And that is the beauty and the orchestration that is the universe. So with that, we're just going to bask in this moment of high vibrational truth for a second and call in the highest vibration of love. And just allow this to kind of flood through our body. And then go about walking throughout our day, just being freaking rainbows and sunshine and enjoying every second of it, right? So I love you all. Normally I say I'll see you on the other side, but we're here. So I'll just see you in another moment of the now. Namaste.